Hello all! Last week I excoriated Amazon for their spectacular day-long failure. This past week, Microsoft decided it was their turn, and because of a self-inflicted domain name system issue, major portions of their network were inaccessible. At least they were kind enough to wait until Wednesday, unlike AWS, which took much of the internet down at the start of business on Monday the week prior. Late in the day on Wednesday, most Microsoft services were responding normally again. This email and video commentary is from the RedDotSecurity.news website, which contains a plethora of links to other items not mentioned here that are worth skimming to see if they interest you or pertain to your particular environment or of those you support. There's a lot more than what's provided in these opening comments. So, on to the headline news. Critical Dell Storage Manager bugs enable remote system compromise. If you use this in your environment, don't wait to patch these defects. The most severe of these could allow an unauthenticated attacker access to the systems. Microsoft was mostly down on Wednesday. If you weren't affected, consider yourself blessed. For most of us, however, we experienced portals not loading or reporting errors, API-based integrations failing to provide needed telemetry to third-party tools and vendors, and a host of other problems. These back-to-back failures by major cloud providers are making many rethink their strategies for business resiliency. Perhaps your disaster recovery and business continuity plans should plan for these seemingly increasing occurrences. QNAP warns of critical ASP.NET flaw in Windows backup software. This particular vulnerability stems from a Microsoft bug that now has a patch. But as with most third-party software, you often need to update the integration yourself. In this case, QNAP recommends that you uninstall and then reinstall their NetBack PC agent, which will then install the correct patched version of ASP.NET. Alternatively, you could locate the ASP.NET update from Microsoft and install it. Windows Server Update Service warnings are sounding throughout the industry due to opportunistic scum pouncing on the massive defect in escalating numbers. As mentioned last week, if you cannot patch your WSUS server, or Windows Software Update Server, disable the service. If you hadn't patched yet, be sure to check for evidence of compromise before letting your server begin serving up patches again. Active Directory at risk due to domain join account misconfigurations is a disturbing article. Apparently, most of us have been domain joining workstations and servers in an insecure manner for years, even if we were using special accounts designated only for this function. However, we aren't completely at fault since Microsoft didn't publish official guidance on how to securely perform this process until August 2025. Yep, you read that right, this year. Thankfully, the article does a good job of outlining the complex process. Security teams now need to evaluate whether the juice is worth the squeeze, as a friend of mine says. Living tissue could fuel robots that grow, heal, and move like humans. Do these people not read or watch science fiction? I have, and experiments like this usually don't end up too great for humanity. Well, maybe another Carrington-size event, which is another article linked in this section, will provide our salvation after the machines take over. I consider what I do to be important, and it is. I manage a team of cybersecurity professionals that help keep hundreds of companies safe and respond rapidly if something should go amiss in a client's environment. But I've become quite introspective lately due to some recent changes in my personal world, and no, it isn't health-related. How long would it take my company to replace me, and I'd quickly become just a distant memory in the minds of my colleagues? Some might think fondly of me for a few months. Maybe one or two would recall me on notable calendar dates, but the company would quickly move on. However, in the case of my family, my role is irreplaceable. My life's calling is serving those that God has placed under my authority, whether that be those who report to me in the workplace or my friends, and especially my family. I need to create margin in my life so that I can be available to fill my irreplaceable role. This is yet another shield that must be raised. One of protecting the precious 168 hours a week that I'm given, and choosing what matters most. Keep the shields up.